Let's talk about interracial relationships, especially after the death of Ashley Janae. Now, you might be surprised about where I land with all of this. I was married to a white man and still married legally. We haven't divorced yet, co parenting relatively well. And before I dated him, I had never actually properly dated a white man. I had kissed a few people in school, but never dated a white man. I had, however, dated a lot of black men, a lot of black men here in Ireland and in Kenya. And I, honest to God, thought that I would end up marrying a black man. Um, so it really took me by surprise. And actually, one of the things that still makes me laugh today is the fact that when I got pregnant with my first child, I cried hysterically because I was like, my baby is not going to be like fully black. And it like I cried for about a week and then I got over it. I think it's one of those things that I hadn't quite, I don't know, registered or something. And then I think at that point as well, I was starting to really realize how racist his parents were. So I think it was wrapped up in all of that rather than just the fact that he was going to be biracial. Um, and I'm raising my kids as black kids, by the way. So they see their dad 4 nights a week. So don't worry, they know they're white as well as black. All that to say, so a black woman has been killed by a white man, we believe. Um, and there are a lot of people saying this is why you should not marry outside of the race. And every time I hear this, I get really upset because even though my experience was really shit, my in laws racially abused me for years. My husband said and did nothing. I'm still grieving that, right? I'm still grieving the fact that he never spoke up for me when I experienced medical racism during childbirth. I'm still grieving that when the police stopped me when I was learning how to drive, and he was like my full driver person, when the police stopped me, he said nothing, right? And we know what happens when black people get stopped by the police. Yeah, it's slightly different here in Ireland. We don't always we don't get killed, but we still get stopped at a much higher rate. Anyway, um all that to say, I get really upset when people are like, marrying outside the race is the problem. Because you forget that men are men. And the rate of femicide in countries like my country of origin are insane. Do you know how many black women are killed by black men every single effing day in Africa? In the continent of Africa, in countries like Kenya? Loads. Do you know how many women are beat up by their husbands or boyfriends in Kenya, including my own family system? Do you know how many aunties I saw being beat up? So I'm not saying that interracial marriage is a solution because I hate that as well, right? I have seen black women here on this app, all the apps actually, having these discussions about how marrying outside of your race is better. It's not if you choose the wrong man, right? And I know that can be a bit victim shamey, and it puts all the onus on the woman to pick right? But if you cannot spot the red flags in a black man or white man, and you marry a dangerous black man or white man, you're in trouble. Another thing I want to say is that black women in America die at a really high rate, not just during childbirth, but also in domestic violence situation. And most of them are killed by black men. So stop fear mongering and telling people not to marry outside the race as if marrying outside the race is the problem. The problem is patriarchy. The problem is men and the system that enables men to do such harmful things. Now, having said all of that, I'm a person that is very aware about racism and the intersection of race and gender. the intersection of race and gender, which is misogynoir. Misogynoir then puts black women at a high risk of femicide, regardless of whether they're married to a white man or a black man. So if you were to look, and I believe I'm right, right? I try not to be like, I'm the only one that's right, but I believe I'm right. If you were to look at the number of women that have been killed all over the world by men, it is more than likely going to be black and brown women because of the intersection of race and gender, patriarchy and racism. Black men harm us with their racism through colorism. A lot of them hate their mothers, a lot of them hate themselves, and because of that, they will be more aggressive with a black woman more than they would be with a white woman. White men benefit directly and the most from racism and from patriarchy. Therefore, if they're with a black woman and they have not done the work, if you marry or date a dangerous white man, you are in so much danger, because even the good white man who I totally believe that my ex was a good white man, because he, in many ways, I have never, like, I know people who were married to white men or dated white men, and the white men themselves were calling them the N-word to their faces. If they had a disagreement about what dinner was, the white man would call them the N-word. Right? So in many ways, I believe that I married a good white man from a good family and whatever. This was before I understood racism and how it plays part. But if you marry somebody like a psychopathic white man or malignant narcissistic white man, you are in many ways in more danger than you are with a dangerous black man, especially in countries where, for example, here in Ireland or in most of Europe, where black men really want to get their citizenship. They really depend on their work visas. They really depend on being a good citizen in order to remain in those countries. In countries like that, you are at a much riskier, at a much higher rate for the violence from a white man than a black man. However, if we're looking at the world in general, man are man. A dangerous man will harm you regardless of what color he is, regardless of what race he is. Men are dangerous because of patriarchy, because because of the way they think they're the prize. Do I still date men? Thankfully, I'm a queer woman, and who kind of who loves everybody, but it is scary. It's scary to think that a man can harm you just by his silence. So imagine how much more they can harm you when they are actively trying to harm you. Rest in peace, Janae and Ashley Janae, and rest in peace every woman, black or brown or white, whose life was taken from you. Rest in peace. And here in the north of Ireland, we have had so many women die from femicide and in the hands of white men, mostly white women. A lot of them family members, even sons and grandsons. So let us not get it twisted. It's not just a race thing. It's patriarchy. And then when patriarchy intersects with race,